Well, welcome back to Finance Uncut. On today's episode, get rich with these silver stocks. So I did this video where I shared a couple of my exploration stocks that I own, my exploration gold stocks that I own, as well as some advice from Rick Rule. Now, I'll put a link in the description below if you haven't yet watched this video. But let's just cut to a clip from this video with Rick Rule giving us some wonderful advice on investing in this space.
Well, Buffett said a couple things that are instructive. I realize that Buffett is, hopelessly old and stale for your generation. But remember, the guy's made $60 or $70 billion as an investor or speculator. He's still worth listening to. He says a couple interesting things. He says that you shouldn't buy a share of stock if you wouldn't be delighted to own the whole company if you could afford it. In other words, if there's 100 million shares out and you buy one share, you better believe that if you were able, you would buy every share at that price, own the whole company, take it off the exchange, and own it privately. That goes to the discrepancy between price and value. Buffett will tell you that money is made on the delta between price and value. The second thing he says is more instructive for young speculators. You shouldn't buy a share of stock unless you know the company well enough that you would be absolutely delighted to see it fall in price by 30% the month after you bought it, so that you could apply the same intellectual capital that you already spent and more physical capital. In other words, if you bought something for $1 and you thought it was a good deal at $1, you better love it at 70 cents. Because if you don't love it at 70 cents, you didn't know enough to buy it at $1. And I think that's probably the most important advice that I could give novice speculators.
So I've also done this video, How to Become a Silver Millionaire, where I actually share my personal story on how I converted just over $60,000 using silver and wealth cycles to end up with nearly $750,000 in assets, as well as investing in silver miners and silver explorers. But I'll put a link in the description below if you haven't yet watched this one either. And speaking of wealth cycles, Mike Maloney's wealth cycles. So I did a little video explaining exactly what wealth cycles are about, and once again, my personal experience with wealth cycles. So if you haven't yet watched it, I'll put a link in the description below. If you're really interested in investing in the gold, silver mining and exploration space, but you're not too sure or you don't have a lot of experience, definitely watch this video. In this video, I think it's a really good educational video where I share how and why I invest in this space, and also how I research, analyze, and value, in particular, explorers. Because with explorers, you don't have earnings, you don't have production to go on. So how do you value and analyze and research gold and silver explorers? And that's what this video is all about. So definitely, if you're passionate about this space, watch this video as well. I'll put it in the link in the description below. What we will do now is we'll cut to a clip from Small Caps discussing one of my largest silver exploration holdings, Investigator Resources.
Oh, Kerry, it's a great project. Primary silver mineralisation, native silver and a thankite. Really amenable to metallurgical recovery. We've got a few challenges, but we've addressed most of those. But people don't really sort of have a feel for silver projects. This has got a indicated resource grade of 163 grams. I sort of wave my hands around and talk about the gold-silver ratio, but to try and put that in a vernacular that people would understand, that's a 500,000 ounce gold resource at better than 2 grams. If it was within 500 kilometres of Kalgoorlie, it would have been mined by now.
Right. So what's stopping that happening now? I know that you've just raised $8 million via a 2-tranche placement. What is that money intended for? What are you going to use that for? How did the raising go? And were you surprised by the amount of interest with Investigator?
Sure. So look, the raising was primarily focused on advancing the PFS study to completion. There's some elements of that have been done, but we need to do a little bit more infill drilling and complete a resource review. We'll do a conceptual mine plan that will feed in then to the PFS. Importantly, we hadn't been sitting on our hands. We'd been preparing a plan to do this PFS work whilst the silver price was down. And as I mentioned before this, we were getting ready for the silver price to move, but not prepared for it to leap forward as it has. Our major shareholder, Millionaire Gold and Silver Fund out of the UK, are absolute silver bulls. When I spoke to them about doing a raise, they said, well, we want to reposition ourselves in the company. They'll come back in after the tranche 2 placement's approved at about a 16% shareholder. They love silver. They love the exposure they get through Investigator. We used Canaccord as the lead manager out of Perth, and those guys did a fantastic job, and we were really overrun by interest. Some would say the pricing was too cheap, but today we're trading above the price that we were 5 days ago when we went into the trading hold.
Yeah, I think I think what people need to realise is that this is a project. I think you've flown a little bit under the radar in the past few years, and now that the silver price is starting to move, there must be a lot more interest. And does that allow you to, I guess, fast track a little bit the project?
Look, it does. And over the last couple of years, and by design, we've tried to sort of keep Paris on the back burner. We haven't been out pushing it and promoting it. But you only have to pick up any of the mastheads today, and they all report bullish silver and gold prices. Everyone's talking about gold going to $2,000 an ounce. About 30 years ago, I went to the largest silver mine in Idaho in the US, and a guy gave me a 1 ounce silver ingot, and he said, hang on to that, young fella, that'll be worth something one day. It was worth $5 then, so look, it's taken a while, but the price has come around.
And it seems to me that the prices are going to continue to strengthen. We don't actually know, but it seems to me like silver is strengthening a lot. You've got some other project, but let's just continue to focus on Paris for a moment. What can shareholders? You've done the placement. What can shareholders expect for news flow in the near future, and then further down the track?
Sure. And you mentioned before that the Paris project is in South Australia. It's about a 6-hour drive from Adelaide, 5 hours on the air highway heading west towards Perth, and then about an hour north off that highway, all weather accessible roads. One of the beauties is that we've used bullion drilling for the drilling of that project for the last 5 years. They're based in Mount Gambier. They're all in South Australia. There are no COVID restriction issues, and they'll be on the ground drilling by the start of September. So we've got very quick news flow. We've signed a contract with them over the weekend to get them mobilised, and we will start putting news about drilling into the market within 4 weeks. In parallel with that, we'll also be doing some of the technical work behind the scenes, and as we complete that, we'll also present that to the market.
All right, so let's talk about the drill. So the drilling will start in September. I guess from that you'll get lots of news flow. So the primary reason for the funds was to advance the drilling.
Absolutely. So about a $3 million drill program, but importantly, that also includes some regional targets that have never been tested. We had an area that is only a couple of kilometres north of the Paris deposit that had not been heritage cleared, and we hadn't pressed to do that. More recently, as I said, behind the scenes, we've been doing some work. We got that heritage clearance done, and we were able to get out and drill the Argos target, which is we think may well be Paris 2.0.
Okay, so this is a new target that has never been drilled before.
Not a hole in it, and always known about, but as I said, had some challenges. So as well as the infill drilling, 20,000 metres of drilling within the pit to improve the resource confidence, we'll also be doing some drilling outside in the regional areas as well.
Yeah, so IVR, you can see a very high grade silver explorer, very, very high grade, and it is solely a silver explorer. So it's not a by-product with lead or gold or copper or something else. So very bullish on that one. Also, due to it should be fast tracked into a productive mine by late 2022, early 2023, from the sounds of it. But a couple of other explorers I just want to touch on. SVL, I know some of you own SVL, that's Silver Mines Limited. Now, I also own a little bit of SVL. Now, I got in SVL at 7.5 cents, so it would have been around early April last year. I got in at 7.5 cents, and look, it did touch about 32 cents, and as you can see, it's back to 19. Silver Mines does have the largest undeveloped silver project in Australia, and potentially one of the largest globally, and it's 100% owned by SVL. So if you're bullish silver, which I am, over the years ahead, and you want a quality silver explorer that has found a lot of deposits, then just have a look at SVL. Do your own research. This isn't investment advice or financial advice. So, there's a lot of risk investing in anything, let alone the exploration space. But SVL, look, personally, I haven't added to it since my initial position. However, it's starting to get into a juicy price where I will probably look at adding to my position, especially if it falls a little bit more, which I wouldn't mind it falling a little bit more. So Red Metal is another exploration stock that I own, and I've been sitting on it for some time. I got in at 5 cents on Red Metal early last year. Look, it hasn't done too much, but Red Metal, what I like about that is it's sitting on a lot of deposits, silver deposits that it's already found. It's drilling a lot more. It's got a few other minerals that it's found. It's also got some assets that it owns 100%, and then others it's in a joint venture with the big Oz Minerals. And what I like about this is Oz Minerals is basically funding their exploration costs. So this one for me is a very low risk explorer with a lot of potential upside, just because of that fact there. But once again, do your own research. Not financial advice. This is just me. So South 32 is a miner. It's actually a spin-off from BHP, and I've been trading South 32 since it was spun off, which I think from memory was around 2016. I'm sure you guys could fact check me on that one. But this is a stock that we've owned and sold covered calls. We've sold naked puts. So we've owned this stock and used it to produce income for us. We've also used it where we've bought call options, bought put options. So we've made profits on this on the way up, on the way down. And actually in March last year, so you can see, around March last year, it got down to about $1.76. And actually, we jumped in at that bottom. So we got a bit lucky. We actually thought that it would fall a little bit more, but we actually got in at that bottom. And then we started riding covered calls for the next several months and made some really nice premiums and some nice gains there. And then we were, you can see there's a big sharp run up in October last year in the share price, and we were actually exercised. So our shares were called away, and then we started just buying call options and have made tremendous gains doing that. But generally, this is a stock that we actually generally like to own and hold in our portfolio and just trade covered calls. But South 32, they own the silver and lead producing mine, Kennington mine in Queensland. Now, Kennington is one of the world's largest and lowest cost silver mines. I believe it produces around 6% of the total world silver production. So, it's it's a big player. So once again, if they're already a producer producing silver, So once again, if you wanted to get a bit of a miner in Australia, well, South 32, their Kennington mine, it's the largest in Australia. So that's you want a bit of exposure to silver, but they're a diversified miner. South 32, they've also got other mining assets. Some other silver producers. So BHP do have a little bit, but they're such a big conglomerate. I'm not really interested in them. Oz Minerals, they do produce a little bit of silver as a byproduct with their gold operations, and Sandfire Resources. I believe they've got a deposit in Botswana, and I believe they've got about a 14 million ounce reserve there. So but I prefer the three silver explorers that you heard about so far in this video: Investigator Resources, SVL, Silver Mines Limited, and Red Metal. They're the explorers that I like the most personally. I know them very well, and I've followed them for a little while now. And South 32 as a producer. That's my exposure to the silver market in the mining and exploration space. So one of the reasons why I love buying gold and silver stocks, and whether that's miners or explorers, is when there's a bull market in gold and silver, the stocks really outperform. And you can see that here in the 03-08 bull market, where silver went up 332%. You can see that in the black line. However, if you bought the quality miners, then you would have outperformed the underlying price, and even the exploration companies, where you really get that extra leverage on the underlying metal. And in the 08-11 bull market, where silver went up almost 400%, once again, you can see silver in the black line, and once again, quality silver miners severely outperform that. So you really get that leverage in a bull market. And I believe we're in a bull market, and this bull market has still got years to play out, and that's why I'm heavily invested in the gold and silver mining and exploration space. Now, I shared my 2020 scorecard in a video late last year or early this year, and I did have my best year, 288% return. Didn't include our put options, where we made 780% return in March last year. In fact, just also shorted a stock recently, an iron ore stock, in the last few weeks here in Australia, and that stock today, as of this morning recording, that position is up almost 700%, and not yet selling, because I believe that's still got a lot more room to move. However, I wanted to focus on this particular stock. So I bought this stock at 17 cents. I did sell it at $4.33. Now, this stock is Chalice Mining. So Chalice was trading early last year at 17 cents, or at least I bought in at 17 cents. It actually was trading a lot less than that. But by the time I bought into it, it was at 17 cents. Today it's trading at $7.57 with an all-time high of $9.34. Now, a $10,000 investment in 2020 would be $445,000 today, or $582,000. My $10,000 investment turned into $254,000 when I sold it at $4.33. So, and generally my exploration stocks that I invest in is usually I put in about $10,000. It depends where that explorer is in the stage of exploration to production. Sometimes that investment can get a little bit higher, up to $25,000-$30,000. But usually my investment in the exploration space, I keep it small because it is much higher risk. And I don't usually get in really, really early on the exploration stocks. I'll wait till there's some drilling results and we can see what type of deposits that they've got. But, you know, if you do get in, you can get lucky when you do get in at those really, really cheap prices before any of the drilling results come out. But you can also do your dough as well. So, yeah, but anyway, look, I just wanted to do this video and share, you know, my silver holdings, the exploration stocks. It's not a recommendation, and it's definitely not investment advice. And it's very rare for me to even do videos like this. So I hope you guys got a bit of value out of it. I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely go and do your own research and speak to your own financial advisor about you know, your position and whether you should be investing in this sector, let alone any of these stocks. So definitely not financial advice. Anyway, guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button. Really do appreciate it. If you haven't yet subscribed, do so and hit that notification bell so you get all my videos. Anyway, guys, take care, and I'll see you again on another episode of Finance Uncut.